The greenhouse smelled like home. Fresh soil, growing plants, and the clean air that the filters pumped through the dome. Hana knelt between rows of tomato plants, checking each one with careful hands. Her fingers were dirty from the earth, and she smiled. This was all she ever wanted. A simple life. Growing food. Taking care of things. Outside the greenhouse, New Haven colony spread across the valley. 3,000 people lived here now. They had left Earth 7 years ago to build something new. Something peaceful. Hana and her husband Junho had planted the first seeds in this soil. Now the colony had farms, homes, and even a school for the children. Looking good, Junho said, walking into the greenhouse. He carried 2 cups of coffee. His smile made her heart warm even after 5 years of marriage. The tomatoes will be ready next week, Hana said, taking the coffee. Doyen says the northern fields are doing well too. Doyen was her younger brother. He worked as an engineer, fixing the machines that kept the colony running. He always joked that Hana got the green thumb while he got the technical brain. Junho kissed her forehead. I need to check the water pumps. See you at dinner. I'll make something special, Hana promised. She watched him leave, then turned back to her plants. The sun was bright today. Perfect for growing. Perfect for living. Then the sky caught fire. Hana looked up through the clear dome. The blue sky was suddenly full of ships. Huge ships. Metal and strange. They appeared from nowhere, like someone had torn holes in space itself. Their hulls were dark and covered in sharp angles. They didn't look like any Earth ship she had ever seen. What? Hana whispered. Sirens started screaming across the colony. The emergency alert. Hana had only heard it during drills. Her hands started shaking. The ships opened fire. Beams of red light shot down from the sky. They hit the mining facility at the edge of the colony. The explosion was massive. Hana felt the shock wave even inside the greenhouse. The building shook. Glass cracked. Plants fell over. Hana ran outside. People were screaming and running everywhere. Children cried. Adults shouted questions that nobody could answer. The sky was full of fire and falling metal. Another beam hit the main administration building. It exploded into pieces. Hana saw people thrown through the air. Her stomach twisted with horror. Her communicator buzzed. Doyen's voice came through, shaking and afraid. Hana, where are you? By the greenhouses. What's happening? I don't know. They're aliens, I think. Real aliens. And they're killing us. His voice broke. Get to the emergency shelter. Now more explosions. The ground shook again and again. Hana started running toward the emergency shelter near the colony center. Other people ran with her. Everyone was terrified. Something flew overhead. A smaller ship dropping from the big ones in the sky. It landed hard in the middle of the street. Dust and smoke filled the air. When it cleared, Hana saw them. The aliens were tall and covered in hard shells like insects. They had 4 arms and moved fast, too fast. They carried weapons that glowed with blue light. When they fired, people fell down and didn't get up. Run! Someone screamed. Hana ran. Her lungs burned. Her legs hurt. Behind her, she heard more shooting. More screams. The sounds of her home being destroyed. She reached the emergency shelter. Doyen was there, pulling people inside. His face was covered in dirt and blood. Come on, hurry. Hana stumbled inside. The shelter was packed with people. Maybe 400, out of 3,000. Where was everyone else? Junho? Hana grabbed Doyen's arm. Have you seen Junho? Doyen's face went pale. He didn't answer. Doyen, where is he? He was at the water station when it got hit. Doyen's voice was barely a whisper. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The world stopped. Everything went silent except for the pounding of Hana's heart. Junho, her Junho, gone. Just like that. No warning. No goodbye, she wanted to scream, to cry, to collapse. But there were alien soldiers outside and people needed to survive. Hana forced herself to breathe. To think. To be strong. The shelter shook as explosions continued outside. Hours passed. The attacks finally stopped, but nobody felt safe. People whispered in the darkness. Some cried quietly. Children held on to their parents. Mira, one of the colony doctors, was trying to treat the injured with the few supplies in the shelter. She was older than Hana, maybe 35, with tired eyes that had seen too much today. Blood covered her clothes. We can't stay here, Mira said quietly to Hana. They'll find us eventually. Where can we go? Hana asked. The old mining tunnels. Or maybe we try to reach the landing pad. If there are any shuttles left, Doyen joined them. I can check the security cameras from here. Maybe see what's happening outside. He worked on a console for several minutes. The screen flickered to life. What they saw made everyone go silent. The colony was destroyed. Buildings were burning. Bodies lay in the streets. The alien ships had landed everywhere. Soldiers were moving through the ruins looking for survivors. They're hunting us, someone whispered. What do they want? Another person asked. Doesn't matter, Hana said. Her voice was cold. Something had changed inside her when Junho died. They killed our families, destroyed our homes. We don't surrender to them. What choice do we have? An older man asked. They have warships. We have mining equipment. Hana looked around the shelter. These were farmers, engineers, teachers, normal people who just wanted to live in peace. But peace was gone now. Junho was gone. Everything was gone. We fight, Hana said, or we die trying. Doyen pulled up another camera view. Wait, look, landing pad 7. There's a shuttle still there. The aliens haven't reached it yet. That's halfway across the colony, Mira said. Through all of them. Then we go through them, Hana said. She walked to the emergency equipment locker. Inside were tools, cutting lasers for mining, explosive charges for breaking rock, vehicles for hauling materials, not weapons. But they would have to be enough. Anyone who wants to surrender can stay here, Hana announced to the shelter. Maybe they'll be merciful. Maybe not. But I'm going to that shuttle. I'm going to survive. And someday, somehow, I'm going to make them pay for what they did today. She expected people to be afraid, to refuse. But something changed in the shelter. People stood up. The shock and horror in their eyes turned to something harder, something angry. I'll help, Doyun said. Me too, Mira added. Others nodded. Not everyone. Some were too scared or too hurt. But enough. Maybe 200 people ready to fight. They armed themselves with whatever they could find. Mining lasers, heavy tools. One man had an old hunting rifle. It wasn't much. But it was something. Hana looked at her dirty hands. This morning they had been in the soil growing food. Now they held a cutting laser like a weapon. This wasn't what she wanted. This wasn't the life she dreamed of, but Junho was dead. Her home was burning, and she would not die quietly. Stay together, Hana told the group. Protect each other. And get to that shuttle. We're leaving this hell. They opened the shelter door. Outside, their world was ash and fire and death. But they walked into it anyway. Because they were human, and humans don't give up. They just didn't know it yet. But the galaxy was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The shuttle shook as it broke through the atmosphere. Hana gripped the armrests until her knuckles turned white. Blood covered the floor. Not everyone made it. They had fought their way across the colony. The aliens were fast and strong, but they weren't expecting resistance. Most conquered species just surrendered. Humans didn't know that rule yet. The cutting lasers worked better than expected against alien armor. So did explosives. So did desperation. 187 people made it onto the shuttle. More than 200 started the journey. The rest stayed behind in the streets of New Haven, buying time with their lives. Doyen sat at the pilot controls, his hands shaking. He wasn't a real pilot, just an engineer who knew how machines worked. But he got them into space. That was enough. Where do we go? Someone asked from the back. Good question. Hana looked out the window. New Haven burned below them. The alien warship still filled the orbit. If they detected one small shuttle, they would destroy it easily. The asteroid belt, Mira suggested. She sat nearby, bandaging a woman's arm. Lots of places to hide there. What then? Doyen asked. We can't live in a shuttle forever. We survive, Hana said quietly. Today we survive. Tomorrow we figure out what's next. The shuttle limped toward the asteroid belt. Behind them, New Haven died. Hana watched through the window until the planet became just a small dot. Junho was down there somewhere. In the ruins. In the ash. She would never see him again. Never hold him again. Never hear his voice. She touched her wedding ring. It was all she had left of him. The next 6 months were the hardest of Hana's life. The shuttle found an old mining station in the asteroid belt. It was abandoned but functional. They made it home. 187 people crammed into a facility built for 50, but they weren't alone. 3 weeks after arriving, they picked up a signal. Another group of survivors. Then another, then more. Across 20 human colonies, the aliens had attacked. Millions dead, millions more enslaved. But thousands escaped to the darkness between stars. Captain G1 found them on the second month. He was older, maybe 45, with gray in his hair and scars on his face. He commanded a cargo hauler called the Morning Star. He had filled it with refugees from another destroyed colony. They call themselves the Velkari Empire, G1 explained at the meeting in the station's common room. They're conquerors. They take worlds, enslave the people, and add them to their empire. They've done it to dozens of species. Why us? Someone asked. We never threatened anyone, G1 shrugged. We were in their way. That's all the reason they need. So what do we do? Hana asked. Hide forever? What choice do we have? Another survivor replied. They have warships and armies. We have mining equipment and hope. Hope is more than they think, Mira said quietly. They expect us to give up, to accept slavery. Maybe other species do that, but we're human. Those words stuck with Hana. Maybe other species do that, but we're human. What did that mean? Were humans different somehow? Or just too stupid to know when they were beaten? The answer came a week later. A Velkari supply convoy passed through the system. 3 transport ships, 1 small warship as escort. They carried supplies to the occupation forces on what used to be human worlds. We should hide, someone suggested. Stay quiet until they pass. Hana looked at the sensor readings. At those ships. At the supplies going to the aliens who killed Junho. Who killed millions. Who thought humans would just accept defeat? No, Hana said. We hit them. The room went silent. Everyone stared at her. Are you insane? A man asked. They'll destroy us. Maybe, Hana agreed. But they're not expecting an attack. We have surprise. We have desperation, and we have nothing left to lose. Doyen studied the sensor data. The transport ships don't have much armor. If we could disable their escort ship first. How? Jiwon asked. Mining charges, Doyen said. We use them to blast through asteroids. They're basically bombs. We load them on a small ship, get close, and detonate them. A suicide run, Mira said. Not if we use a remote pilot. Doyen replied. I can program a shuttle to do it automatically. The plan was insane. But everyone was tired of hiding. Tired of being afraid? Tired of feeling helpless while the aliens who destroyed their lives just continued like nothing happened? They voted. It was close. But more people wanted to fight than wanted to hide. 2 days later, they put the plan into action. A small shuttle, packed with every mining charge they had, flew toward the Velkari convoy. Doyen controlled it remotely from the Morning Star. His hands were steady on the controls. All those years of engineering training, now used to fly a bomb. The Velkari warship detected the shuttle. It tried to shoot it down, but the shuttle was small and fast. It dodged the weapons fire. Got closer, closer now, Hana said. Doyen hit the detonation button. The explosion lit up space. The Velkari warship broke in half, its shields overwhelmed by the crude but powerful human explosives. Both pieces tumbled through space, dead and dark. It worked, someone whispered in shock, but the fight wasn't over. Jiwon brought the Morning Star around. Other ships from the refugee fleet joined him. Cargo haulers and mining vessels never meant for war, but they had cutting lasers and grappling hooks and angry humans who wanted revenge. The Velkari transport ships tried to run. They were faster than the human ships, but Doyen had studied their systems during the fight. He knew their weakness now. Their engines, he called out. Hit the engines. They're not shielded. The human ships opened fire with cutting lasers. The beams that usually cut through asteroids now cut through alien engine housings. 1 transport ship went dead. Then another. The third tried to jump to faster than light speed, but its engines failed. It was trapped. The battle was over in 15 minutes. 3 Velkari transport ships captured, 1 warship destroyed. 0 human casualties. Everyone was shocked. They had won. Actually won. Against advanced aliens with better technology and bigger ships, humans had won. Hana stood on the bridge of the Morning Star, staring at the disabled transport ships. Inside those ships were supplies, weapons, technology, information. Board them, she ordered. Take everything useful. Leave nothing for the enemy. Jiwon looked at her. You're becoming a soldier, Hana. I'm becoming what I need to be, she replied. They killed the person I was, so I'll be whatever kills them back. The refugees boarded the transport ships. They found food, medicine, and weapons, but they found something more valuable: computers with navigation data, maps of Velkari positions, locations of occupied human colonies, information about where the enemy was weak. More importantly, they found prisoners. Human prisoners being transported to slave camps, 600 people crammed in cargo holds like animals. When the refugees opened those holds and freed their people, something changed. Hope. Real hope. Not just survival, but the possibility of fighting back. Of winning. News of the battle spread through the scattered human survivors. The story grew with each telling. A small group of refugees had destroyed a Velkari warship and freed prisoners. If they could do it, others could too. More groups joined together. More attacks happened. Small raids at first. Hit and run. Steal supplies and disappear. The Velkari had expected humans to behave like other conquered species. Accept defeat. Integrate into the Empire peacefully. Humans did not behave like other species. Hana stood in the station's command center 6 months after the first raid. Around her, dozens of screens showed positions of human groups across multiple systems. Thousands of fighters now. Tens of thousands of refugees protected by them. Young Tay stood nearby. He was barely 19, rescued from a processing facility 3 months ago. His entire family was dead, but he had joined the resistance immediately, volunteering for the most dangerous missions. He reminded Hana of herself, someone who had lost everything and found purpose in fighting back. Another convoy is coming through the Kepler system, Tay reported. Bigger this time. 5 transport ships, 2 warships. Can we take them? Hana asked Doyen. Her brother studied the data. If we hit them smart. Fast strike, multiple directions, overwhelm their defenses before they can coordinate. Make it happen, Hana said. Mira approached. We're getting more refugees every day. We need more medical supplies, more food, more space. Then we take them from the Velkari, Hana replied. Every resource we steal is one they can't use against us. Mira smiled sadly. You've changed, Hana. The woman who just wanted to grow tomatoes is gone. She died with Junho, Hana said. But maybe that's okay. The galaxy needs fighters right now. Farmers can come later. That night, Hana looked at her wedding ring again. She thought about Junho, about the simple life they wanted, about greenhouses and growing food and peaceful days. That life was gone forever. But maybe if she fought hard enough, other people could have it someday. She sent out a message on the resistance network. It was short but clear. They think we'll give up. They're wrong. We're human. We don't know how to quit. Across human space, refugees heard those words, and they prepared to fight. The Velkari Empire was about to learn a hard lesson. Humans were not like other species, and conquering them was going to cost more than they ever imagined. 18 months into the war, the Velkari Empire learned that humans were different. They learned it with blood. Commander Velshara stood on her flagship's bridge, watching reports come in. Another convoy destroyed. Another garrison attacked. Another human settlement that refused to surrender. They should have given up by now, her second officer said. Every other species accepts occupation within months. The humans have lost everything. Why do they keep fighting? Velshara didn't have an answer. In her 300 years of military service, she had conquered 12 species. They all followed the same pattern. Initial resistance, then gradual acceptance, then integration into the empire within a generation. It was inevitable. It was natural. It was how civilization spread across the galaxy. But humans broke the pattern. They fought with equipment that should have been useless. They turned mining tools into weapons. They modified civilian ships into warships. They attacked with tactics no civilized species would use. Suicide runs, ambushes. They even used nuclear weapons, technology most species abandoned centuries ago, and they were winning small victories, not enough to threaten the empire, but enough to be noticed, enough to be a problem. Increase patrols, Velshara ordered. Find their hiding places. When you do, destroy them completely. Make examples. The humans need to learn that resistance only brings suffering. On a hidden outpost in the Kepler system, Hana received the warning. They're coming, Tay said, his face pale. The Velkari found refuge station. They're sending a battle fleet. Refuge Station was the largest human settlement left. 30,000 people lived there. Civilians mostly, families, children, people who couldn't fight but needed protection. It was supposed to be hidden, safe. "How long do we have?" Hana asked. "Maybe 2 days. 2 days to evacuate 30,000 people. It was impossible, but they had to try. Send every ship we have," Hana ordered. "Every cargo hauler, every shuttle, every vessel that can carry people. Get as many out as possible." Doyon worked the communications console. "We can't save them all, Hana. There's not enough time. Not enough ships." "Then we save who we can," Hana replied. Her voice was hard. Every decision like this killed a part of her soul, but if she fell apart, everyone fell apart. "And we make the Velkari pay for the rest." The evacuation was chaos. Ships came and went, packed beyond safety limits. Families were separated. People begged for space on the transports. The resistance, fighters did their best, but their best wasn't enough. When the Velkari fleet arrived, 20,000 people were still on the station. Hana stood on the bridge of Jiwon's ship, watching the enemy warships approach. There were so many, too many. Even if the entire human resistance fleet fought together, they couldn't win this battle. "We need to leave," Jiwon said quietly. "Save the ships we have. Come back and fight another day." "And leave 20,000 people to die?" Hana asked. "They're already dead," Jiwon said. His voice was sad but honest. "We can't beat that fleet. If we stay, we lose everything." Mira stepped forward. "He's right, Hana. I hate it. But he's right. We need to survive to keep fighting." Hana looked at the station, at the tiny lights of thousands of lives about to end, at people who trusted the resistance to protect them. She thought about Junho, about all the people who died because she chose to fight instead of surrender. Was this her fault? If they had just accepted the occupation, would those people still be alive? "Hana," Doyon said gently. "We have to go." She gave the order. The human ships jumped away. Minutes later, the Velkari fleet opened fire on Refuge Station. The station didn't last long. It wasn't built for war. It was built for hope, for families, for a future that now burned in space. 20,000 people died in the attack. The Velkari made sure the destruction was recorded and broadcast across occupied space. A message. This is what resistance brings. Death, suffering, loss. Hana watched the footage alone in her quarters. Every explosion, every life ending, she wanted to scream, to cry, to quit. How many more would die because of her choices? Mira found her there, hours later. Hana's face was wet with tears. "I'm killing them," Hana whispered. "Every person who follows me. Every person who trusts me. I'm leading them to death." "No," Mira said firmly. "The Velkari are killing them. They would kill us whether we fight or not. At least this way, some of us survive. Some of us resist. Some of us stay free. Is it worth it? All this death?" Mira sat down beside her. "I was a doctor. My job was to save lives. Now I kill people, I help plan attacks, I watch patients die because we don't have supplies. But you want to know what I learned? The Velkari don't see us as people. They see us as resources. Animals to be used and controlled. If we surrender, they'll work us to death in their mines and factories. At least when we fight, we die as humans. Free humans." Doyon entered the room. "The resistance leaders want to meet. Some are talking about surrender, about negotiating peace." "There is no peace with them," Hana said. She stood up, wiping her face. The grief was still there, but it hardened into something else: determination. "Tell the leaders we meet tomorrow, and tell them this: anyone who wants to surrender can go. I won't stop them. But I'll never bow to the people who murdered my husband and my home. Never." The meeting was tense. Representatives from a dozen resistance groups argued for hours. Some wanted to negotiate. Some wanted to retreat further into deep space. Some wanted to keep fighting. "Look at what fighting has brought us," one leader said. "Refuge station destroyed, thousands dead. How many more will die before we accept we can't win?" "We're not trying to win," Hana replied. "We're trying to survive and make them regret attacking us. Every ship we destroy, every convoy we raid, every day we resist, we make this occupation cost them. Eventually, it'll cost too much. That could take years, decades. Then we fight for decades," Hana said. "My husband died in the first attack. My home burned. I have nothing left except this fight. I'm not stopping until the Velkari leave human space, or until I'm dead. Everyone else can choose for themselves." The vote was close, but more people chose to keep fighting than chose surrender. 3 weeks later, Tay brought new intelligence. The Velkari are planning something big, a final offensive. They're calling it the Purge. They want to eliminate humanity completely, make an example of us for the galaxy. "How long?" Hana asked. 6 months, maybe less. They're gathering ships from across their empire. Doyun studied the data. If they commit that many resources, we can't stop them with conventional tactics. Then we use unconventional tactics, Hana said. They expect us to defend our settlements. Instead, we evacuate everything, everyone, disappear into deep space, let them chase ghosts. And then? Mira asked. And then we make them bleed, Hana replied. Hit their supply lines, their colonies, their infrastructure. If they want total war, we'll give them total war. We'll make them realize that conquering humans means permanent conflict, that occupying our space means never having peace. The resistance began preparing. It was a desperate plan. Abandon everything and turn into pure guerrilla forces. But it was better than waiting to be destroyed. Outpost Kestrel was the test. 3,000 resistance fighters against 15,000 Velkari troops. The outpost wasn't important strategically, but it was visible, public. The Velkari wanted to take it as a demonstration of power. Hana decided to make it a demonstration of human stubbornness instead. We hold them for 3 days, she told her fighters. Buy time for the civilians to evacuate the sector, then we withdraw. 3 days against those numbers? Someone asked. That's suicide. No, Hana replied. Suicide is giving up. This is making them earn every meter. This is showing the galaxy that humans don't surrender, even when we should. The battle for Outpost Kestrel became legend. For 3 days, 800 fighters held the outpost. They used every trick they learned. Traps, ambushes, explosives. They fought from buildings, tunnels, anywhere they could. The Velkari had better weapons, better armor, better numbers, but humans had something else: desperation, creativity, and an absolute refusal to quit. When the ammunition ran out, they fought with tools. When the tools broke, they fought with rocks and bare hands. When fighting was impossible, they rigged explosives and took enemies with them. After 3 days, 61 humans survived. 800 had held off 15,000. The Velkari took the outpost, but they paid for it with 3,000 casualties. For each human life, they spent 5 of their own. Velshara watched the battle reports in shock. This should have been easy. It should have been over in hours. Instead, primitive humans with basic weapons had inflicted massive casualties through sheer determination. What are these creatures? Her second officer asked. Velshara didn't answer, but she was beginning to understand. Humans weren't just another species to conquer. They were something the galaxy hadn't seen in a very long time. They were dangerous. Back at the resistance base, Hana addressed the survivors on the communication network. Her face was hard, her voice steady. The Velkari think we'll choose between death with dignity or life as slaves, she said. I say we choose a third option. We make them regret ever finding us. We make every day of occupation cost them. We make them understand that humanity doesn't know how to surrender. She paused, looking directly at the camera. They destroyed our homes. Killed our families. They think that broke us. But they're wrong. It made us into something. 3 years into the war, the galaxy noticed humanity. Trade ships brought stories. Refugees carried rumors. Even the Velkari couldn't hide it anymore. Somewhere in the outer sectors, a primitive species was fighting the Empire and refusing to die. Other conquered species watched with fascination. Some with fear, some with hope. The Arathi were traders, neutral in all conflicts. They sold goods to anyone with money and never took sides. But their captain, Revik, had been watching the human resistance for months. "Why do they keep fighting?" his first mate asked as they watched a human convoy raid from a safe distance. "They've lost everything." "I don't know," Revik admitted. "Every species we've seen conquered by the Velkari surrenders eventually. It's logical. It's survival. But humans," he shook his head, "they fight with primitive weapons against advanced warships. They turn civilian equipment into military tools. They attack targets they can't possibly hold, just to prove they can. It's insane. Or brave," the first mate suggested. "Maybe both," Revik replied. The human raid succeeded. A Velkari supply depot destroyed, its resources stolen. The humans disappeared before reinforcements arrived like ghosts in the dark. Revik made a decision. "Contact the human leaders. Tell them we want to talk." When Hana received the message from the Arathi, she was suspicious. Nobody had helped humanity so far. Why would aliens help them now? It could be a trap, Doyen warned. Or it could be a chance, Mira said. "We need allies. We can't do this alone forever." Hana agreed to meet, but she brought weapons and kept ships nearby just in case. Revik's ship was large and well-maintained. Inside, it smelled strange, like spices Hana had never encountered. Revik himself was tall, covered in blue scales with 4 eyes that blinked independently. "You're the human leader," Revik said. It wasn't a question. "I'm one of them," Hana replied. "What do you want?" "To understand," Revik said. "My people have traded with the Velkari for centuries. We've seen them conquer dozens of species. All of them followed the same pattern. Fight briefly, then surrender when they realize they can't win. Accept integration into the Empire. Within a generation, they barely remember being independent." "And?" Hana asked. "And humans don't follow the pattern," Revik said. "You've been fighting for 3 years. You've lost worlds, millions of people. You have no chance of military victory, yet you continue. Why?" Hana thought about Junho, about New Haven, about all the people who died because the Velkari decided humanity was in their way. "Because surrender means becoming slaves," Hana said, "living under their rules. Forgetting who we are. My husband died fighting for freedom. Millions died. If we surrender now, their deaths mean nothing. We might as well have died with them." "So you'll fight until extinction?" Revik asked. "If that's what it takes," Hana replied. "But we'll make them regret it every day until then." Revik's 4 eyes studied her for a long moment. "The Arathi Confederation has a policy of neutrality, but we also have a policy of supporting survival. Your species is young, but you have something rare: determination, adaptability, a refusal to accept fate. These are valuable traits, and what are you offering?" Hana asked. "Manufacturing capacity," Revik said. "We can't give you weapons directly. That would violate our neutrality. But we can sell you industrial equipment, fabricators, refineries, tools to make your own weapons, and we can share intelligence, Velkari ship movements, supply routes, weaknesses in their systems." "What's the price?" Hana asked. Nothing was free. She learned that lesson long ago. 10% of anything you capture from the Velkari," Revik said. "Resources, technology, information. We help you survive, you share what you take. Fair trade." It was more than fair. It was generous. Hana wondered why, but didn't ask. Maybe the Arathi wanted the Velkari weakened. Maybe they admired human stubbornness. Maybe they just saw a business opportunity. It didn't matter. Humanity needed help, and the Arathi were offering. "Deal," Hana said. Over the next year, the resistance changed. With Arathi equipment, they built real weapons. Not just modified mining lasers, but actual military-grade arms. Ships designed for combat. Armor that could withstand Velkari weapons, but more importantly, they got information. The Arathi trading network reached everywhere, including Velkari space. They knew which convoys were valuable, which garrisons were weak, which systems had poor defenses. The resistance became more effective, more dangerous. Doyen led the engineering teams. He had grown from a scared young man into a brilliant strategist. His innovations were legendary among the fighters. The Hellstorm missile was his creation, crude antimatter warheads that humans were willing to deliver personally if necessary. The Velkari shields stop energy weapons, Doyun explained to a group of new recruits, but they're weak against kinetic impact. So we use mass, speed, physics, ram their ships with heavy objects moving fast enough, or use explosives right against their hulls. Simple but effective. Tay had become a legend, too. At 22, he was the best scout and spy in the Resistance. The Velkari called him the Shadow. They knew he existed but could never catch him. He could infiltrate their bases, steal their codes, and disappear like smoke. I learned to be invisible, Tay told younger fighters. Move when they're not looking. Stay in shadows. Use their own security systems against them. And never ever hesitate. Hesitation gets you killed. Jiwan's fleet had grown to 50 ships, still small compared to the Velkari, but powerful for a resistance force. He commanded them like a master, using tactics the enemy never expected. Space is big, Jiwan liked to say. You don't win by having more ships. You win by being where the enemy isn't expecting you. Hit hard, hit fast, disappear before they respond, make them afraid of every shadow. But the biggest change was in humanity's reputation. Other species started to notice, to respect, to fear. The Velkari Empire faced something they never experienced before. Persistent, effective resistance that didn't fade with time. Humans were supposed to break. Instead, they got stronger. Commander Velshara became obsessed with destroying Hana specifically. She saw the human leader as the core of the problem. Break Hana, break the resistance, she was wrong. Hana was important. But the resistance was bigger than one person now. It was an idea, a belief that freedom was worth any price. Velshara didn't understand that. How could she? Her species had conquered for so long, they forgot what it felt like to be conquered. They forgot that some species would rather die than submit. The confrontation came during the raid on Velshara's flagship. Tay led 30 fighters in a desperate boarding operation. They didn't try to capture the ship. That would be impossible. Instead, they planted explosives throughout the critical systems and stole command codes. The Velkari fought back, but they weren't trained for close combat against enemies who fought with such ferocity. Humans didn't just fight to win. They fought like every battle was their last because it might be. 23 of the 30 fighters died in the raid. But the flagship was crippled for months, and the command codes allowed humans to track Velkari movements across 3 sectors. When Velshara recovered, she sent a message to Hana. Direct communication, commander to commander. Surrender, Velshara said. I offer you terms. Your fighters can live. They will be imprisoned but treated well. Your civilians will be relocated to protected settlements. You will not be enslaved. This is more generous than any species has ever received. Hana looked at the alien commander on the screen. Velshara was injured from the raid. Bandages covered parts of her shell. Good. Let her feel pain. Let her understand what humans felt every day. No, Hana said simply. You cannot win this war, Velshara insisted. Your species is doomed. Accept these terms and save what you can. Here are my terms, Hana replied. Leave human space completely forever. Free every human prisoner. Compensate us for our losses. Then maybe we'll stop killing you. Velshara's expression was unreadable. Alien faces were hard to interpret. But Hana thought she saw something like respect. Or maybe anger. Hard to tell. You are fools, Velshara said. Brave fools, but fools nonetheless. Come and make us surrender then, Hana said. Come try. See how many of your soldiers die. See how much this occupation costs. We're human. We don't know when to quit. The communication ended. But something changed that day. Velshara stopped seeing humans as primitives to be conquered. She started seeing them as enemies to be destroyed. The war entered a new phase. A month later, Hana faced a difficult choice. Tay brought intelligence about a Velkari colony ship. 40,000 civilians, families, children, not soldiers. Just people trying to live. Some of Hana's commanders wanted to destroy it. Payback for Refuge Station. For New Haven. For all the human civilians the Velkari killed. We can send a message, one fighter argued. Show them we can hurt their families too. Hana looked at the intelligence data. At the colony ship. At 40,000 lives. She thought about Junho, about the children playing in New Haven before the attack, about humanity's soul and what they were becoming. No, Hana said firmly. We don't target civilians. That's a line we don't cross. But they crossed it against us, which is why we're fighting them, Hana replied. If we become them, what's the point? We're trying to prove we deserve. 5 years into the war, the Velkari Empire made their final decision. Humanity would be eliminated completely. Not conquered. Not enslaved. Destroyed. Commander Velshara received her orders with something close to relief. No more half measures. No more trying to integrate these impossible creatures into the Empire. Just complete military action until the human problem was solved permanently. 200 warships, her second officer reported. The largest battle fleet assembled in 50 years. Every human settlement will be destroyed. Every resistance base eliminated. We will cleanse this entire sector. How long until the fleet is ready? Velshara asked. 3 months. Velshara looked at the star charts. At the systems where humans hid. At the bases they thought were secret. The Empire had been patient, had tried to be civilized about this conquest. But humans didn't respond to civilization. They only understood force, so force is what they would get. Tay brought the intelligence to Hana. His hands shook as he delivered the report. It's over. They're sending everything. We can't fight that many ships. Hana looked at the numbers. 200 warships. Against humanity's 50 combat vessels and 30,000 fighters. It wasn't even a fair fight. It was an execution. How many civilians do we have scattered across the resistance territories? Hana asked. About 2 million, Mira replied. She looked tired. They all looked tired. 5 years of war had aged everyone beyond their years. In dozens of hidden settlements, stations, outposts. We can't defend them, Doyen said quietly. Not against those numbers. We'd lose everything, every ship, every fighter, and the civilians would still die. Hana stood at the window, looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Velkari were preparing to end humanity, after everything they survived. Everything they sacrificed. It was going to end anyway. She thought about Junho, about his smile when they planted the first seeds on New Haven, about the simple life they wanted. How naive they had been, how innocent. We run, Hana said finally. Everyone stared at her. We evacuate everyone, Hana continued. Every civilian, every fighter, every resource we can carry. We run beyond the Empire's reach, to the verge, to unexplored space, anywhere they can't follow. That means abandoning everything, Jiwon said. Our worlds, our homes, all the territory we've been defending. We already lost our homes 5 years ago, Hana replied. Everything since then has been borrowed time. The Velkari want to kill us. We don't give them the chance. We disappear, survive, come back stronger someday. And if they follow us? Someone asked. Then we keep running, Hana said. Keep surviving. We're human. That's what we do. The plan was called the Great Retreat. Every human settlement received the order. Pack everything. Prepare to leave forever. The old worlds, the ones humans had called home, would be abandoned. It hurt. After 5 years of fighting to protect those places, they were giving them up. But staying meant extinction. Running meant survival. The Velkari didn't wait for the full fleet to gather. They sent advance forces to probe human defenses. That's when they discovered what humans were planning. They're evacuating, Velshara's intelligence officer reported. Moving civilians out of all known settlements. Heading toward the deep systems. Cut them off, Velshara ordered. Send fast attack groups to the jump points, trap them. If they want to run, they'll have to fight through us first. The Jericho Gate was the last safe route out of human space, a jump point that led to the verge beyond the Empire's control. All the evacuation convoys had to pass through it, and the Velkari knew it. Doyen looked at the tactical display. Velkari ships were gathering at the Jericho Gate, 12 destroyers. Enough to stop any convoy. Enough to trap the human evacuation fleet. We need someone to hold that jump point, Doyen said. Give the civilians time to escape. It's a suicide mission, Jiwon replied. Whoever stays will die. I know, Doyen said. He looked at Hana, at his sister. The woman who had carried the weight of humanity for 5 years. She looked so tired, so broken. She needed this to work. Needed the civilians to escape. Needed something to survive. I'll do it, Doyen said. No, Hana said immediately. We'll find another way. There is no other way, Doyen replied gently. You know that. Someone has to stay. Someone has to buy time. It might as well be me. You're my brother. And you're humanity's leader, Doyen said. They need you alive. They need you to guide them to wherever we're going next. I'm just an engineer. A good one, but replaceable. You're not replaceable to me, Hana's voice broke. Doyen hugged her. Remember when we were kids? You always protected me. Let me protect you this time. Let me protect everyone. The next 30 hours were chaos. Civilian transports flooded through the Jericho Gate. Families, children, the sick and elderly. 2 million people running for their lives with everything they could carry. Doyen commanded the rear guard. 3,000 fighters and 15 ships, against the Velkari forces gathering on the other side of the gate. He set up defensive positions. Minefields, weapon platforms. Every trick he learned in 5 years of war, and he prepared to make the Velkari pay for every meter. The battle began on the 3rd day. Velkari destroyers pushed through the jump point. Doyen's forces hit them immediately. Missiles, lasers, kinetic weapons, everything humans had learned to use effectively. The Velkari shields held. But humans had learned where they were weak. Doyen's fighters attacked the shield generators directly, suicide runs, ramming attacks, desperation tactics that worked because humans were willing to die. One Velkari destroyer went dark. Then another. But more kept coming. Always more. How many transports left? Doyen asked. 700, his tactical officer replied. Still evacuating civilians. Then we keep fighting. The battle raged for 72 hours. 3 days of constant fighting. Doyen's forces dwindled. Ships destroyed. Fighters killed. But they held the line. Kept the gate open. Gave the civilians time to escape. On the 3rd night, only 500 fighters remained. Most of the ships were destroyed or crippled. Ammunition was almost gone. Last transport just jumped away, the tactical officer reported. That's everyone. All civilians are clear. Doyen let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. They did it. Everyone survived. Everyone escaped, now he could let go. Set charges on the gate, Doyen ordered. Collapse the jump point after we're done. Make it impossible for them to follow quickly. What about us? Someone asked. We're not leaving, Doyen said simply. This is where we make our stand. He opened a communication channel to Hana. She was on one of the evacuation ships, far away now. Safe. Good. Hey, sis, Doyen said, trying to sound casual. Mission accomplished. Everyone's out. Doyen, get out of there. Hana's voice was desperate. You did your job. Come home. Can't do that, Doyen replied. Someone needs to collapse the gate. Make sure they can't follow, and I'm pretty beaten up here. Wouldn't make it anyway. Doyen, please. Made them pay for every meter, Doyen said. His voice was tired but satisfied. 3 Velkari destroyers gone. Maybe 5,000 casualties. Not bad for a small group of humans, right? Don't do this. Love you, sis, Doyen said softly. Tell everyone. Tell them it was worth it. Every fight, every sacrifice. Because they're alive. They're free. That's what matters. Doyen, make it worth it, Hana. Make our fight mean something. And hey, maybe grow some tomatoes when you find a new home. For both of us. The Velkari launched their final assault. Overwhelming numbers. No chance of survival. Doyen smiled. He was scared but also proud. His sister would live. His people would survive. That was enough. For humanity, Doyen said to his remaining fighters. Let's show them what we're made of one last time. The base exploded in a massive fireball. The gate collapsed, space itself folding in on itself. 3 Velkari destroyers were caught in the collapse and torn apart by the dimensional forces. Doyen and 3,000 fighters died, but 1.7 million civilians escaped to safety. On the evacuation ship, Hana watched the tactical display as the gate collapsed. As her brother's signal disappeared, she wanted to scream, to cry, to break down completely. But 2 million people needed her to stay strong. To lead them to safety, to make Doyen's sacrifice mean something. Mira found her in her quarters hours later. Hana sat in the dark, holding Doyen's last message recording, listening to his voice over and over. He saved everyone, Mira said quietly. Gave us all a chance. I know, Hana whispered. But I'd trade everyone's survival to have him back. Is that terrible? Am I a terrible person for thinking that? You're human, Mira replied. And humans are allowed to grieve. The evacuation fleet arrived in the Verge 3 weeks later. Lawless space beyond the Empire's reach. Systems that no one wanted or controlled. It wasn't home. It would never be home. But it was safe. For now, the final count was devastating. 300,000 people died in the evacuation. Fighters who held defensive positions. Civilians whose transports were destroyed, people who chose to stay and fight rather than run, but 1.7 million survived. And that was more than anyone thought possible when the war started. Hana stood on the bridge of the lead ship, looking at their new territory. Strange stars, unknown worlds, a fresh start that cost everything to achieve. Tay stood beside her. He had lost everyone in the war, parents, friends, his entire settlement. But he was still here, still fighting,